right. Hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right. So let's go ahead and jump on into this. It's going to be a collective message. I really wanted to use this backdrop. First off, I'm half British. So, it's kind of fun for me in that sense. But I love seeing that we've got a couple different directions we can take our stories. So we're going to use this week for messages incoming. We have that bus that is, there we go. Traffic traveling, buses moving, things happening. And then we have the Big Ben clock tower there in the back. So again, we have a potential message about timing. Now, I'm going to do each one of those for zodiacs throughout the week. But for starters, I just want to leave this really broad, really wide open and say, do we have an incoming message? Do we have something about timing? Do we have something about, travel or someone needing to communicate right now? I don't know. We're going to leave it really open right now. Hey, Annie. Nice to see you, babe. We've got the Knight of Wands upright. We've got the Two of Pentacles. We have the Death card. Okay, so I'm going to say this is about timing. Just because somebody's called time on a situation. Now, this could be that somebody is looking back at a time where they could have done things really different. Knight of Wands are, very flirtatious, very, like wanting to be seen, wanting to be noticed quite a lot, very like they come in and they're suave, and then sometimes they don't stick around. They don't really give too much as far as like long-term energy, but if you're willing to have a little fun, something lighthearted, something not, with no real attachments, then cool, they're down, so that's kind of what this looks like may have happened. And with that in mind, it's like I feel as if this is just a memory right now. I feel like this is already timed out, and I feel because we have this ghostly memory. So why is this memory resurfacing of somebody that seems like they were a player? Hi, everyone. Annie S. I know I like this backdrop too. I think it's really fun. Shout out to London, all my watchers out there in England. It's just fun to, you guys know I love all international things. I'm a big traveler, and I would love, my channel to always be more global minded, in our storytelling. So we'll go to Paris, and we'll go to Australia, and we'll go to many different places. I always look for backdrops that inspire me. So this one's fun. But we have the Fool. The Fool is in the reverse. I said, why is this coming up? Why is somebody remembering this person when this is already timed out? And it says, maybe this is the time of the year. Maybe this is just remembering that the person that, we had something once upon a time, but they never returned back into my life. They didn't want balance and equality. They didn't choose to take any big leap toward me. It kind of seems like this is a divine feminine who is just saying, I'm at that point where I know that this is over. This person's never coming toward me. Now, anytime we start to say things like that and characters decide what some other character is or is not going to do, that's always where I go, are we sure about that? And the reason I always kind of pause is because every character has their own free will. But let's take a look at whomever this, we're going to call them the Fool, but I don't mean to be offensive. It's just the person that didn't take the leap toward her. So first off, she saw them as a Knight of Wands, right? A Knight of Wands, and that's all it was. We played, we had a little fun, nothing came of it. They're never coming toward me. That's this feminine's assumption at this point. And by the way, she could be a Scorpio. He could be an Aries, but just remember when I say he and she, I don't really read for genders. It's just energy flow. But obviously we have a masculine and a feminine on the card, so that's how we're going to refer to this. He comes across as actually a King of Wands who has thought very heavily round and round and round with that Five of Wands. His mind's gone over and over and over this. The idea of crossing the river, crossing the pond, crossing whatever the great distance is. This looks like a really vast river that he would have to cross, is some body of water. We could say cross an ocean, but this to me is more reminiscent of like, the Willamette River or, I guess probably not Mississippi. I think that looks a little different, doesn't it? I don't know. I really haven't spent any time around Mississippi River, but I don't know. It just feels like he's on the other side. There's a great distance. And even that Fool card represents like somebody who would have to travel. And she's saying he's would never actually travel to get to me. Maybe they met when one or the other of them was traveling at some point in time. Even him as a knight, this is somebody I was just rolling through town. Maybe he popped into her town. That's how she met him. They had a little fling, and she's like, but he's never coming back to town, not for me and not for anything else. She's just at that point where she's scratching him off of the list of anybody who even still thinks about her. And this says that is not the case on his side. He's not actually a Knight of Wands who has frivolous adventures and he forgets the kisses, that he has and shares with other individuals. She certainly has stayed on his mind and in his heart so significantly that he's given great thought. I mean, possibly for days and nights or months, thought about her, considered over and over again what he'd like to do, which is to cross that river, that Knight of Cups, take action to show back up in our world. For some more passion, we do have the Knight of Wands as well. He may be far enough away that it would be like 2 days of travel, because this is travel through the day, travel through the night, racing across the desert. Actually, I love this particular Knight of Wands card. This is such a romantic, exciting card to me. There's something about that just always feels like pure adventure. He may even be wishing that she would like meet him part of the way or something along those lines, like in his wildest fantasies. We have the moon. I'm hearing in your wildest dreams, moody blues, right? When the music plays, when the words are touched with sorrow, once upon a time in your wildest dreams. With the moon here, we have these two towers. He does think, although it's still hidden, he does think about her a lot. She thinks about him a lot. But there is this gap between them. We have this big scary tarantula in the middle. I don't know if that just represents the distance or if that represents their fears of, I'm sure you don't think of me anymore. And the other person's like, I'm sure you don't think of me, but I sure do think of you. Let me explore that moon card just a little bit. If they don't know what the other one is thinking, hi everyone, great to see you. The Five of Pentacles, Five of Wands. Fives are cards of change. That Five of Wands is, again, overthinking, going round and round. That Five of Pentacles, as we see, this is her, on this card saying, oh, he's long ago and far away. I am definitely just nothing more than, a night in his past that I'm sure he doesn't remember. I'll remember him. He won't remember me. I'm already not on his mind. Whereas this is what's hidden. The moon card is what's hidden, right? It's the fact that both of them kind of had like a life-changing experience together. Those fives represent change. So something changed for both of them. For her, though, it became like this little, like knot in the pit of the stomach. That's like, what changed for me is I know how easily forgotten I am. And that is not even true, but that seems to be what that message is. And then what's changed for him is it's like, I can't stop thinking about this person, about that real comfort, that real camaraderie. So obviously these two have shared something, and it's like he's feeling like he's not okay without her at this point. She's over here feeling like, I know I won't be, on his mind at all. So this is the problem when two characters both assume that they know what's going on with the other one, instead of both of them just taking maybe the correct action for themselves. Let me just ask this. Feminine, you're right now, especially, you're saying, I know he's forgotten me. I'm not somebody on his radar. So what are you going to do? Page of Wands, I'm just going to try to just heal my heart. She may be telling herself at some point in time, I'll meet somebody else and I'll interact with somebody else. But that's, let me diminish how important this was to me so that hopefully it can help my heart to heal a little faster. Let me just remind myself that it was just a splash of fun. That's it. It's just a bit of fun. It didn't mean a thing to him. So I guess it shouldn't mean a thing to me. Okay. Not the greatest way to get over anything, to say, oh, this was nothing. This was nothing. I meant nothing. That negative thing to say, I don't know that that's the greatest way to get over something, but that just seems like, yeah, see, Four of Cups, that's what I figured I get it. She's trying to like deal with the disappointment by saying, I can just, whatever, this is nothing. And I get that attitude, but on the other hand, it does look like it's actually going to prolong some of the feeling of the disappointment and highlight it even with that Four of Cups, because that's the illusion, that's the missed opportunity, that's the disappointment. Look, I kind of think she's having a kind of a crummy day, even though she says, it's time I let this go. It's like, it's somebody who's kind of just melancholy about, yeah, this is done and it's time I let this be done. Okay, let's go over to him for a second. What is it that you're going to do? Hi, everyone. So great to see you all. Hi, Helen. On his side, we have a Queen of Cups. Well, give me another one on that Queen of Cups, because I keep feeling like he's very lost in memories. 10 of Cups in the reverse. He keeps like reminiscing, I'm going to say. Remember, he's had that Five of Wands twice, so we know his mind's going over and over and over. He's reminiscing, like, or even envisioning what it might have been, what it could have been, the kind of, sensitivity and kindness. She must have been very gentle, very loving with him. And he's the one feeling like that's to give, but then I'm not the recipient of it with that 10 of Cups in the reverse. He's kind of sitting here missing. And there's the Tower, sitting here missing her, literally. That Tower says something's collapsing. Magician to the Emperor, at least in this storyline, as much as she's like saying the time has come for me to just forget about him and let him go. It's interesting because the time for him is time to step into an emperor's energy and advocate for what he really wants. I don't know that there was ever ego in the way. Let me just ask, why did you not, approach her at all? And, when you clearly wanted to. We have the Page of Pentacles in the reverse because we haven't talked in forever. Okay, but why did you not stay in contact with her then? Ace of Cups, Nine of Wands. With that Nine of Wands and Ace of Cups, the reason he didn't reach out to her, stay in contact with her is, I don't know if he thought that she loved him, but for a brief moment, and then she withdrew. So it's like, well, I need to give her space. But if she loved you, if you loved the way she loved you, then why exactly what you were being respectful and giving her space? He's trying to argue, well, I thought she was happy, like her walking away from me, her isolating herself, was like what she wanted to do. The thing is that Nine of Wands is a wounded warrior card. He's like, oh, maybe she was still in love with somebody else and was still wounded over somebody else. And that's really why we weren't talking anymore. And then she was, maybe I was just a stand-in. Did these two characters that actually both had a lot of like desire to make this a much more serious relationship, did they both think that the other one didn't think of this as very important? Is that what this was? So they both kind of operated off of like that sting of, maybe this is both of their faults for approaching any kind of a relationship like, oh, this is just going to be fun, lighthearted games. This means nothing. If they both started out that way and implied that to each other, and they may have, since we had that Two of Pentacles, when that's not really what either one of them meant, maybe they're both kind of to blame for like almost disrespecting how important each one of them is to each other, but also like how important they should see themselves, romantically getting involved with somebody is no small thing. You're giving them your energy. You're giving them your kisses. You're giving them, access to a really precious part of you. So maybe these characters acted like, oh, this is no big thing. We're just going to have a little fun. When in fact, it is a big thing because each of these characters is very special and they should have seen themselves as special. But likewise, to treat one another like you're more than like a meaningless, breeze on the wind. So I don't know. It kind of feels like this storyline says it was all set up wrong in the beginning because this was handled too nonchalantly. And really, aren't we all more important than something so nonchalant? Of course, every single human's life is more valuable than just, a breeze in the wind. We don't just come and go and mean nothing. So I'm wondering if maybe that's what this like gentle lesson is for both of them. because you can see how this whole thing devolved into kind of a lot of hurt feelings, not real pursuit of a relationship that they actually both really want. Both felt a lot more in this, and then both walked away feeling like, oh, but I didn't matter to them. And that wasn't even true. That's not been true for either of them. Now, thankfully, it does look like the masculine's ready to take some kind of an action toward her, right as she's detaching and saying, of course, I didn't matter. The thing is, what I would say is, even if this storyline, I mean, of course, sometimes we get these stories where, someone is ready to like say, hey, wait a minute, what the heck am I doing? I'm going to step up into my emperor mode and I want to advocate for what I want. But let's say he never did. Even if he never did, it wouldn't change like the point that he'll continue to think about her, whether he ever gets around to approaching her or not. That's the part that's like, oh my gosh, if this is one of those storylines where I wonder, how many characters walk around that never do talk again, even though they never forget each other. That's like, it's a lot of good wasted love and left on the table. So I don't know. I feel like that's the bigger perspective on this story, is like, thankfully for these two, it looks like there will be action taken. She does not see this coming at all with the moon card here. The divine feminine would not guess that this is on the horizon or that he'll be reaching out or any of those, because she's, again, she says it's time to call it. I'm never hearing from him. In all fairness, I don't know though, did you ever try reaching out to him at all, or did you leave this a blank slate? Ace of Wands sideways. That's not exactly an answer. This is her saying, I kind of turned and looked back. I've kind of spied on him a little bit with that Page of Swords. But when we parted ways, it was kind of like, okay, well, hey, that was fun. And we left it with maybe even a murkiness of like, yeah, well, if you're ever back in town or something, see you then. But it was almost like, there was a spark of like, I'd like to see you again, but it doesn't matter if I do or if I don't. I'm wondering if that's more the way this was left. And then it's like, but then it's thinking about somebody and, low-key spying on them and pretending that you're not, and wishing to talk to them and wishing to have follow-up, but nothing. So I definitely think that our feminine didn't exactly advocate for what she wanted, wasn't exactly straightforward. And I think that's really what the big message here is characters have to speak what they really want. Otherwise, they're never going to get what they really want. So I don't know. I'm happy that these two, that he seems to be about to approach her. Let's get one final message on that. 10 of Pentacles. Yeah, he's definitely going to be the one who's kind of doing some of the heavy lifting of approaching. He's bringing in, you may be spending some money to get to her also, right? He's holding the bread here. But this is him. Maybe he's going to come up with a ploy like, oh, I had to travel here for work again. He may find another reason to say, hey, let's meet up, let's talk. But it does look like the masculine is one making the move. I hope that these characters, thank goodness they're not going to let this kind of like good things slip by, and things are going to be course corrected. But the bigger message here is, holy smokes, characters, don't ever let things that you actually want slide on by not admitting that you want them in the first place. So, if you say that you want something and somebody doesn't respond or they're not interested, then of course you got to let it go. It's just that that's not what this storyline was. It was two people both wanting each other, both thinking about each other, and nobody doing anything until it's like pretty much time's up. So I'm happy for them though, that there is this this shift and this intention. I wonder if the feminine was more or less saying, well, he has to make his move. I gave him as much of an invitation as I could. And if he doesn't pursue me at this point, then of course I just let it go. Like, that's how this comes across. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Good to see you. And yes, that's great. Manifest mindset. Very cool. Stephanie D. Hi, Maria's Dental. Yes, Annie, I will be getting to Zodiacs. We got to get the first round of Zodiacs started today. Woke up in the Twilight Zone. Love your name. Robin G, thanks again. And Helen York, great to see you. Hey, sweet. Slay Princess, right back to you, love. Ken Ramey, love the clash. GR, hi. Courtney Jade. Right back to you. Ken, have a great day. Thank you, Vertical Rising. Hey, hey. Donnie Divine's in the house. Paris Jade Humphrey, awesome to see you. Crystal Suzanne, hi, hun. Yeah, I think I have been on this exact street, crossing the river there, River Seine or Thames, excuse me, the Thames. I always say it wrong. Sorry, I went to Paris there for a second with the River Seine. Sorry, it's the Thames. All right, you guys, take care. Lots of love. Bye, guys. Ms. Light, hi. Hi, Mary. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you again for Zodiacs. Bye.